Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking at how to install a total rain. So it's a really nice solution that includes a rain head for getting rid of leaves and larger debris, and it's also got a first flush diverter incorporated into it to get rid of any fine sediment which might have built up in between rainfall events. So it's going to flush all those away, and then we're going to just collect the good water in our tank or wherever you want to collect your water. So the tools you're going to need a saw for chopping your pipe where you're going to install it. You're going to need some PVC priming fluid and solvent cement glue. And you're also going to need a drill to install your brackets. So let's run through the video. I'll explain those points and the whole setup in a bit more detail. The first thing we want to do when we're installing our total rain is think about where we're going to position it in relation to the wall, in relation to the roof, and in relation to the tank itself, or the rain barrel or whatever vessel you're using to collect rainwater in. Firstly, let's think about maintenance. So occasionally you are going to have to brush the screen off. So make sure you install the unit in an area which is somewhat easily accessible. Next, we want to think about where the product is in relation to our collection vessel. For this video, we're using a rain barrel here. And what you want to be conscious of is to make sure, obviously, that the barrel is lower than the clean outlet pipe. You want to make sure that from the base of this pipe to the top of your rainwater collection vessel, whether it's a barrel or whether it's going underground and back up again, or whether it's going straight into a tank, you want to make sure that dimension there is around about 500 millimeters. You've got your position for your T-piece here. The overall measurement we want to take from top to bottom is 800 millimeters. That's using an Australian variant. If you're outside of Australia, you might have a few different adapters, so check the specification guide if that dimension varies a bit. Now that we've taken our 800 millimeter cut from top to bottom, we're going to look at where and how we position the total rain. So I'm just going to grab the first two bits, like so. This pipe will end up going into this top hood about 10, 15 millimeters or thereabouts. So it'll end up sitting about there. So we want to put that inside ever so slightly. And then we want to mark out where this T here is. And I'm going to end up putting another bracket on top of there. So let me grab my drill, I'll screw that on, and then I'll come back in a sec. Okay, so I've put the bracket under there, so that's going to support that T-piece in here. Now what I've done, I've actually only loosely tacked that bracket into position. What I think is a good idea. We've got this carrot first flush portion to put on next. Now, the joint between the bottom of the rain head, the leaf header stream, and the T-piece here, that does not need to be glued. And as you're assembling it, you'll understand why when you look at it, because it's got a nice lip sort of design that water can only fall in one direction. There is one section that does need to be glued though, and that's the top of this carrot into the bottom of this T-piece. Now that I mentioned the bottom of that T-piece, I should note as well, you'll probably notice when you assemble it, the T-piece has got a spigot or male fitting at the top and a socket or female fitting down the bottom. So make sure that you've got the pipe fitting up and the socket on the bottom side. So I've unscrewed that top portion from the carrot. What we want to do next, we want to prime, use a PVC solvent cement to prime, and then glue that edge there. So you want to prime that, glue it, and you want to prime this one as well. Probably don't bother with putting glue on this, otherwise it'll squelch out a bit too much. We're going to put this in, so I'm not actually going to glue it in this instance, but pretend that we've got some glue on there. You're going to want to fit that into position. Now, what's even better is you might want to fit that into position before you put this on, or you might want to take that bracket off and then just do it on the ground, just so you've got a bit more room to work with. You'll note that on this part here, it's got a little arrow. You'll note that it's eccentric. Make sure that that line is pointing directly perpendicular away from the wall. So now that I've got that in, I'm just going to fasten these a little bit tighter. I'm going to grab my carrot components here. What you want to do, you want to hold that slip fitting all the way up. I'm going to come down here. You can see I've got enough space to enter from the side here. And I can drop that base part down if I want to. This is correct. And then I want to get this and then just screw it into position. Now you'll note, you'll see here that this collar has sort of risen up from the base as I've been screwing that in, and that's perfectly correct, because when you go to disassemble it, if you need to clean it, you just do the reverse. So you need this sort of slippage here to make sure that you can get the unit out. Because all this ends up going to waste afterwards, that's why we don't need a glue joint here. So very important, do not glue any of this, otherwise you're not going to be able to take it out for maintenance. And I should note too that wherever you've got this, if this is going to a wet or charged stormwater line, make sure that the highest point of that stormwater line is, roughly 400-500 millimeters lower than here, if possible, because otherwise you'll have stormwater coming out here. The next thing we've got to do is simply connect the T-piece to the barrel. And all I'm going to use there, I'm going to get a bit of PVC pipe. You just want to glue that into position here. And then whatever fittings you've got to do at the other side to make it go towards your barrel or your tank, away you go. So this is the clean water is going to be coming out here once the carrot's activated. In this instance, I'm not going to do it now, but ideally you're just going to chop that. You'll probably put a bend, 1 or 2 bends, maybe you'll snake it into this barrel here. But whatever you've got to do, depending on your situation and your setup, is going to get the job done. So that is how to install the tidal rain.